The big thing that you want to try to keep in mind, one of the ways that I've always defined blogging is simply the publishing of online content. So that blurs the lines even more, and I'm going to touch a little bit more on that because I think that a lot of people are siloed with their understanding, their definition of exactly like what a blog is. But if you keep in mind that it is simply the creation of online or digital content, you'll understand that blogs are literally everywhere. They're on websites, they're on traditional blogs, they are on social media sites. Technically speaking, if you understand that that's just the creation of content, your social media sites are even within themselves blogs.
You're an entrepreneur, and you make vital decisions that hopefully blossom into a business. You're the savvy, out-of-the-box risk taker who believes wholeheartedly in the process of innovation. Innovation that will change the world. This is CEO Chat with Gresham Harkless, and you're about to embark on a journey through the awesome world of business. Gresham is the epitome of drive and desire as he works to help support small businesses and entrepreneurship. And you're about to learn from this entrepreneur how you can improve your odds of success in the business world. Welcoming the host of CEO Chat, here's Gresham Harkless.
Hello. This is Gresham Harkless from the CEO Chat podcast powered by CBNation.co and Blue 16 Media, your choice for all your website design, SEO, and digital marketing needs. And this is talk number 8 in a series that will become the You Are a Media Company course. And this is the first of 4 that I will speak specifically about the blog and why it's important. And as I spoke about in chat number 62, I would argue that the website is the foundation of your digital marketing strategy, aka your digital storefront. So it makes sense that for this next chat, I'm going to focus on the blog, what it is, why it's important, and the future of blogging for entrepreneurs and business owners. And the reason that I talked about the website and then I'm transitioning to the blog is because there's a lot of overlap between the two of these. And as I talk about the next things, you'll kind of see the overlap and how they kind of tie in together, and how sometimes when you have a website you integrate a blog, or sometimes a blog can be like a website. So I'm going to give you just some of the overall characteristics of what a blog means, what a blog looks like, but keep in mind that again, everything, just as has been a common theme for these chats, everything is kind of blurring, so there's not like silos as it has potentially been more so in the past. So before I started with everything, I wanted to just give you a definition of what exactly a blog is. A blog, which is a shortening of weblog, is an online journal or informational website displaying information in reverse chronological order, with the latest posts appearing first. And it's a platform where a writer or even a group of writers share their views on an individual subject. So that's just a definition of exactly like what a blog is. And what I'm going to do during this chat is just give you a little bit more of history behind a blog. I'll give you not a long history, but just some kind of points so you can see like how long blogging has truly been around. And hopefully in the next couple of chats, I'll be able to give you an idea of also like what the future is for blogging, because it's definitely evolved from how it was when it started. But keep in mind, especially as a CEO, entrepreneur, and a business owner, the idea is to really understand like what your focus is, what your goals are, who your target market is, and then you work backwards from there. So while these are general kind of characteristics, general baselines that you can use, keep in mind that you can massage or transition it into what exactly you want it to be. So just to get started, history of the blog. I wanted to give you a few kind of markers in the history of blogging. The first blog was created in 1994. A lot of people might start out with 1997 when the actual term was first coined, but 1994, the first blog was created, links.net, by Swarthmore college student and Justin Hall. In 1997, the term weblog was coined by John Barger, the author of Robot Wisdom. 1999, Peter Merholz shortens the weblog to blog. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name too much. And then also in 1999, three friends who founded a San Francisco startup called Pyra Labs created a tool called Blogger. And if you know Blogger, it's been purchased now by Google. So that's really where I think blogging really started to take off tremendously. Of course, like with everything that Google gets its hands on, it usually kind of takes off. So I want to give you that kind of short idea of some specific landmarks, I guess you can call them, in the timeline or in the history of blogging. So you can kind of see that it's not something that is extremely new or something that's just coming about yesterday. It's something that's been around for a while, and it's been evolving ever since. So if you were to look at that first blog that was created in 1994, I would imagine that it would pale in comparison to the blogs that you see now, with all the different ways that you can use multimedia, from videos to audio to actually writing content like you used to having GIFs, and a lot of different ways that you can kind of make the blog into something different than what it could have been and what it was back in 1994. But I want to give you that idea so you can see that this is not a new phenomenon. This is something that has evolved, and it is going to continue to evolve in the future, because I think that blogging is not going anywhere anytime soon. If websites aren't going anywhere, then I can't imagine that blogs are. So it might be kind of hard to visualize this, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what the general layout of a blog is. Usually when you go to a blog, at the very top you'll see a header with a menu or navigation bar. So depending on if it's just purely a blog, you're going to see that it might have home, and the home might be a list of all the posts that were created. And then you might sometimes see categories at the very top, and these categories are ways in which you can organize the actual posts that are on your website. So specifically for us, we have some of our most popular categories on our CEO Blog Nation sites. When you go to it, you can click and you can see all the posts that are related to that specific category or have been saved under that category. And the reason for that is just to kind of organize the content so that if somebody wants to read something very specifically, they can click and kind of find it themselves. And that's, one of the things that I'll probably touch on with the future of blogging and best practices and tips in the next chat, in the next few chats. But just to understand that you are able to kind of see a header, and then you'll see usually a menu that might include those categories, might include a contact us. But the key thing to kind of keep in mind as well is that, again, as I talked about before, there is definitely a blurring of the lines as far as website and blog, because as I talked about in the last chat, that was, for this You Are a Media Company course, I spoke about WordPress. I spoke about how WordPress was built initially as a blogging platform, but has evolved from there. And because of that, what you're seeing as well is that websites, of course, can have a blog integrated directly on them. So that could be WordPress, that could be Squarespace, that could be Weebly. All these different platforms have a way for you to create a blog within the website. So again, that format and the idea can kind of depend, but keep in mind that you're usually going to have a header, and you're going to have a menu or a navigation bar. Under that, you're going to have the main content with highlighted or latest blog posts. And I spoke about that usually for a traditional blog, meaning that you go to the website, it's just a blog. Usually you'll find that content that's directly there, but that's not always the case. As I mentioned, even for our CEO Blog Nation site, as the date of this recording, we have it set up in a different way, where we have we have some blog posts that are in the front, but we also have some other things. So it's kind of like a hybrid between a website, a traditional website, I guess you can say, and a traditional blog, because we do have the blog posts, but we don't have all our blog posts running through the entire site. However, if you go to our Herepreneur site, our Rescue a CEO site, our Teach a CEO site, you'll see that you can go directly to those blog posts because it's running on that home page. So that's kind of what that speaks to, is usually you have your main content with the latest blog posts that are directly on the site. So again, if you can visualize it, you have your header with your menu, and then under that you have your main content. Now, this is not, again, always the case, but if you look to the side, you'll see a sidebar. And on that sidebar, you can put different things there. You can put advertisements, you can put social profiles, your favorite content. You might have a call to action and maybe to download an ebook. We across our different sites have our podcasts, and just content that people can get very quickly. And you see this a lot with kind of news type of sites, but keep in mind that sometimes, and I'm going to touch on this probably a little bit later in a future chat, you want to keep in mind that that is just for people to kind of take in more content and get more comfortable. But if your goal is really to keep somebody on that page, maybe you don't have a sidebar. So that's something that's optional. Maybe you have it set up more like a Medium, which is a blogging platform, blogging community, where you're able to just only see the content on that page because you don't want to distract anybody from anything. So a lot of it will just generally depend. But again, this is just like the general layout of a blog and how people will set that up. And then at the very bottom, you have what is called your footer, and that has relevant links like a disclaimer, privacy policy, maybe contact us page, etc. It might have who exactly developed or designed your website, which we make sure to do. Of course, adding powered by Blue 16 Media at the bottom of our website, just so people know exactly who created our website. But that's one of the big things you want to try to keep in mind. This is the overall layout of your blog. How it generally looks, but keep in mind that you can always change it, you can always adjust it, and you can always tweak it. So you've gotten the layout, you've got the definition, you got a little bit of the history of blogging. So and keep in mind that I want to add in too that people that do blog are often called bloggers, which is in line with the name of the company that was started in 1999. But you might be listening to this and wondering, why do people even blog? And what I want to do is give you kind of like a list of information on why people blog, some ideas on like why people actually do that and commit time on a regular everyday basis to do it. But keep in mind, there's a lot of data and statistics that says that blogging is very, very important, especially for business owners, for a lot of different reasons. So I'm going to give you an idea, just a general list of why people blog. And then I'm going to give you some specific examples of business owners and how you can leverage your blog too, based off of how these business owners are doing it. So the reason that people blog, to express themselves, it should be remembered that the foundation of creating a blog was simply to create content and to use it as a way to create a journal, so to speak, online. Is a way for you to kind of express your feelings, express your thoughts, to write about things that might be going on in your day. Now, that's not necessarily why somebody as a business owner would blog. However, there is a growing trend where people are documenting their kind of startup process, how they're going about building and growing their business. You can do that in a lot of different ways. Some people are using social media platforms to do that, but you also want to try to keep in mind that a blog can also be a great way to do that. And as I'll talk about a little bit later on this chat, I'm going to drive home and give you guys the reason why you might want to use a blog instead of a website, and the kind of the pros and cons of that. And you'll see exactly like why, expressing themselves and expressing yourself is one of the big reasons to do that. So the next thing is to deliver valuable content and news to other people on the internet. So you can approach this as an expert in your specific industry. And as I spoke about, and I've driven home a couple times, how important it is to kind of position yourself as an authority, as the go-to person in whatever category or topic that you're speaking about. Keep in mind that you can deliver valuable information via a blog. And the reason why that's important is because it's something that you own a little bit more than you own from a social media standpoint. So if you're the person that is the go-to person for everything that has to do with kickboxing in Alexandria, Virginia, then if you're the person that understands the regulation, you hear about different clubs that are coming out, you hear about different exercises that you can do, and you're always posting about this stuff. You're going to be the go-to person for that. And then if you have a business, potentially, if you have a kickboxing business, potentially, you're going to be able to get some of those people that are interested in your content to transition over into becoming clients. And it could be everything. It could be, kickboxing. Maybe you talk a little bit about MMA. So you have blog posts that focus on some of the stars and talks about, some of the local, maybe MMA or kickboxing leagues that are out there, but you're basically essentially the go-to person for that. So you're in other words, you're delivering valuable information and news to other people on the internet. So that's another big point. Number 3 is to make money. It's not very, very simple and easy. Well, let me take that back. It is simple, but it is not necessarily easy, and it does take time and commitment in order to make money on your blog. But there's a lot of different ways you can do that. I have a Start a Business Blog course at startabusinessblog.com, completely free course that talks a little bit about some of the ways that you can do that. But I think one of the big ways as a business owner, especially if you already have an established business or you're already providing some type of services or you have some type of expertise that you can leverage your blog, is not necessarily to get people to come in and click on ads, even though that obviously is an option. You just have to have a tremendous amount of traffic. So if you're not starting out with a tremendous amount of traffic, keep in mind that there's other ways that you can leverage your platform in order to generate sales and maybe even generate different forms or different revenue streams. So a lot of people make money from blogging. They might be selling services that they have, which I think is probably one of the quicker ways that you can generate revenue from day one. But maybe they also have affiliate links. So kind of like a hybrid between advertising and kind of a hybrid between advertising and actually selling your services. You are selling and promoting somebody else's services. So really big into, hearing, and if you've listened or kept your ear to the ground about marketing, in the future, marketing influencers are really, really big, and they're essentially a way for you, for businesses, bigger businesses potentially, or maybe even smaller businesses. But if you know your niche, you can reach out to somebody that has an influence in that community, and you can get them to promote your products. So that's kind of like affiliate links. So you're doing the exact same thing where you have a platform, and maybe you're getting companies to come and use your services. But there's a lot of different resources, so definitely check out that free course if you want to leverage that. The next thing is self-promotion. I say self-promotion / authority positioning, because the idea is that you really want to position yourself as an authority. So you want to be seen as the go-to person. And I talked a little bit about ways that you can do that. And I get and delve a little bit deeper into that in these next couple chats, but also understanding that there's a lot of different ways that you can do self-promotion. So it doesn't have to just be the blog, but understand that a blog is a great way to do that. The next thing is to connect with like-minded people. One of the big things about blogging is that you can build a community, just like with other things that you're doing in your business. If, for example, you have a cycle studio, or you have maybe a yoga studio, you can connect with other like-minded people based off of that. So if you really think further, and even deeper, if you have a yoga studio, and on top of having that yoga studio, you also are a blogger, it's going to open you up to an entirely different community of people to connect with. So just trying to keep that in mind, that you'll be able to attract like-minded people, because you'll be able to go through and have conversations about what you're doing, what you're not doing, how you're leveraging your blog, and how you're doing all these different things. So it's very, very important to do that. Next up is to gain knowledge. It might be a surprise, but by blogging, by creating content, usually you want to create informed content. So it's going to make you pretty much a student again in your craft. And that's why I say it's so important. I think it's so relevant for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners to really make sure that they're blogging, even if it's just from a therapeutic or just like a student standpoint or mindset, where you're just collecting data about what's going on in your industry and you're staying abreast of all the trends and all the updates and things from that standpoint. So you're going to be able to gain knowledge because you're going to have to write content and you're going to figure out like all these different things that are going on within your industry, because you're going to be the go-to person for that, and you're going to be doing the research and the homework to find out like what all the future trends are, what are all the future things that are going on in your industry. So keep in mind that's a very big opportunity. The next thing is not so much relevant for entrepreneurs and business owners. However, it might give you an idea of a way in which you can hire. And the next thing is to find a better job. Some people will blog because they are looking to, again, try to show themselves as an expert so that people can hire them. And I want to bring that up only because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a CEO, you want to keep in mind that if you're looking to bring somebody on to your team, you can use and see if they have created this content, see if they have created this information, see if they are maybe not a thought leader right now, or maybe they are, or maybe they're gearing towards going that way. So obviously, from a standpoint of somebody that's looking for a job, it's a way for you to cut through the noise. But as a entrepreneur and business owner, you don't have to see or hear if somebody is just interested or sounds like they give a good interview and say, hey, I'm actually somebody that is learning this information and I'm the go-to person for this specific niche because I've been writing about this for the last 3 years, or I've been writing about this for the last 10 years. And you can take a look at my blog and you can see that. So you might know that, hey, not only is this person given a awesome interview, they also have a tremendous amount of content and information that would make me definitely want to hire them. So that's a big and huge part. And there's a lot of other things, but the last one I wanted to talk about was just to improve your writing skills and communication skills. I think that anybody who writes will tell you that writing on a regular basis promotes and gives you the opportunity to be very clear on your thoughts and your actions. I myself make it a point to write every single day, even if it's just a short period of time. But I literally write because it's not only therapeutic, not only does it provide clarity, but also feel like I'm very clear about what exactly I want to say in certain conversations, but even as far as my day and starting my day off on a high vibration. So it's definitely important to make sure that you do that. Even if you don't publish it, you'll improve your writing skills, you'll improve your communication skills. And I think it's also one of the great ways that you can approach things with your analytical mind. So those are just some of the ways that you can leverage blogs and why blogs are important and what roles they play. But I wanted to give you some very, very specific reasons that you can use your blog and why it's important for you to use your blog for your business and to do that on a regular, everyday basis. So I'll give you 5 different examples of exactly how you as a business owner can use your blog. The first one is a yoga studio that helps with their SEO rankings. So I haven't talked much about SEO. I touched on it a little bit, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in a future chat about like exactly what SEO is and how it's important. And I'm going to give you kind of an idea of like some of the important parts of SEO, but keep in mind that Google basically sends out these spiders. They comb the internet for keywords. And what you want to try to do is get those spiders to come to your website. And these are not real spiders. These are internet spiders, so to speak. But what they usually do is they go and they read their website. But one of the ways that they get attracted to websites is because you have constantly changing content. And that is at the heart of what blogging is. You're constantly creating content. It does not necessarily mean every minute, doesn't necessarily mean every day, though it can. It means that you have regularly created and published content that's constantly being updated. So it's showing those spiders and attracting those spiders to your website. So that's very simplistically on how like that yoga studio can use their blog to create content, but it's just not creating content to create content. I'm going to touch a little bit more on the concept of the long tail, but understand that blogs are a phenomenal way to reach the long tail. And I have a blog post that I will put in these show notes that talks more about the long tail. And I'm definitely going to talk more about, why that's important. But the thing to try to keep in mind is that when people are searching, and the way that they're searching is completely different from the way that they were searching 5-10 years ago, and in 5 or 10 years in the future they'll be searching in a completely different way. But you just want to try to keep in mind that that's a great way to try to connect and make sure that you're showing up when people are searching for those long tail searches. So you want to try to drill down and use your blog in order to do that. So the yoga studio, maybe they're not just talking about the benefits of yoga. Maybe they're talking about a very specific product that they're using that helps people to have a better yoga experience. So they're drilling down, and not only are they aware of that, but they also have blog posts and content that actually speaks to that specific thing. So it might be something along the lines of why downward dog position is the best position to help you sleep an extra hour. And they might name their blog post that specific title. And somebody that is searching for downward dog and sleep, or maybe they're searching for the exact same reason, like why is downward dog the best yoga pose to do, they will see your blog post. So that's kind of the idea. You're reverse engineering exactly what people are searching for. So number 2, a health coach wanting to position his or herself as an authority. So as I spoke about, especially for consultants, health coaches, maybe even real estate agents, what you're going to find is that you want to be the go-to person in your specific industry, in your specific area potentially. So if you're a health coach, maybe you're using your blog to talk about all the different things that people need to know from a health standpoint. Maybe they need to know why it's so important for you to get 8 hours of sleep, not just 6 hours of sleep. Even though you think your body needs it, you might want to get 8 hours of sleep. So maybe you create a blog post that is entitled "The Benefits of Getting 8 Hours of Sleep." Or maybe you understand your target market so much that you realize that they're not searching necessarily for the benefits of 8 hours of sleep. They're searching for how you can get less than 8 hours of sleep to be optimal. So maybe you create a blog post about that, and then in the blog post, maybe you say, "Hey, I know you want to get less sleep to be more effective, but understand that the more sleep you get, the more effective and efficient you're going to be. So rather than trying to sleep less, maybe you need to sleep more and be more efficient with the time that you have." So maybe you create a blog post about that and you're helping people that, or maybe you're talking about the benefits of honey and tea and how that helps as a way for you to make sure that you are getting healthy and remaining healthy as the seasons and times change. So all these different things are ways for you to position yourself as a go-to person. And of course, depending on how you brand and design your website, you can definitely have your contact information on that sidebar that I spoke about before, so that if somebody's reading this and they don't scroll all the way down to the bottom, because you definitely should have a call to action at the bottom, they can still see and contact you very quickly and very easily if they just say, "Hey, this person sounds like they know what the heck they're talking about, so I want to call them." So the number 3 thing is that dentists wanting to interview colleagues and other dentists and show themselves as a connector. So if, for example, you are a dentist that only works for children, right? So you understand that you have picked this specific niche. You're going to be a pediatric dentist. Maybe you understand that, hey, the kids that actually come in are not the ones that are going to be paying for whatever service you're providing. It's going to be the parents. And you understand that the parents have teeth too, and they need to have their teeth cleaned. They need to have braces. They need to have all these different things. So rather than you saying, "Hey, I want to expand to do all these additional services," for adults, you decide that I want to stick to my niche. I want to only do what it is that I'm best at doing. So you use your blog in order to interview your colleagues, maybe people or friends that you went to dental school with, and they also have practices. So you bring them on to talk about some of the things that parents can do. So not only have you help promote a potential colleague or a potential co-entrepreneur, co-CEO, you're also having the opportunity to position yourself as an authority, because not only will I go to your dental practice because you have this really awesome focus and service that's helping out children, you also seem to have a connection with other people within the industry. So it might be somebody that focuses on adult, dentistry services, but really think larger and bigger about all these different services, because what you'll find, especially in like that health and wellness field in the industry, a lot of people will overlap. So it might be the CrossFit person that goes to CrossFit on a regular everyday basis because they're very tied into their health. They're very cognizant about their health, and they have children. So maybe not only are you interviewing those people that are directly related to what it is that you're doing, but maybe you're taking it a step further and you're having an interview with people that are also in very complementary industries and fields that can kind of also help you to get more clients and get more customers if that's your goal. So that's how you can definitely do it as a dentist. The next thing is a pastor wanting to have a conversation with his or her congregation. So if you've ever heard like a sermon or you've listened to somebody who's a lead or the head of a religious institution, you will understand that often you will get words of wisdom or pieces of advice on exactly like how to live your life and how to reach the goal, which is generally to it might be to get closer to whatever it is that you believe. So often you have and listen to what your lead or head of your religious institution says, but you may not be able to retain everything. So maybe you as the pastor or the priest, or maybe you're just writing a book and you're a religious leader, you want to create content that helps to have a conversation with your congregation or maybe even your followers or people that have engaged and listened to you because you have relevant content that you're providing. So maybe you create a blog so that you can do and have that conversation, because one of the big characteristics of blogs is that they have that comment section, which I'll touch on a little bit more into like the differences between the website and the blog. But the idea is that you have that opportunity to have that conversation because you've created content. When you've given that sermon, you created a blog post based off that sermon. Then on top of that, you have the comments section where people can go and engage with you and you can respond back to them. And again, this is kind of a hybrid because you can do a lot of this also on social media sites, but keep it in mind and understanding exactly like what the pros and cons on each of these things are. Understand that you may not be able to leverage that as much as you would have liked, and because you don't control it as much. So again, that's just another example. And then the final example I wanted to give you was a children's basketball camp owner wanting to show the behind the scenes of their company. So anybody who's been in business probably has heard the phrase that people don't buy services, they buy from people. So you build a relationship with people, and hopefully that transitions into buying of your products or buying of your services. So that's why it's become even more important and even more relevant to have these behind the scenes kind of snapshots or information about who the people are that you're going to be connecting with, so that before I come to your shop or before I go to your website, I know exactly who I'm going to be talking with on the phone, or know exactly who's going to be packing up my packages. Or for this children's basketball camp, if I'm sending my child there, I want to know exactly who the people are that are going to be running the camp. So that's huge, especially for you to leverage your blog as the owner of this basketball camp, to be able to interview the people that are going to be there on a regular everyday basis with the parents' children. And the reason that that's important is it provides a level of trust, but it also gives you a behind the scenes to kind of understand exactly who you're connecting with, because you feel somewhat of a connection by understanding that, hey, this person graduated from the same school that I did. So maybe when I do meet them, I can have a conversation about that. Or maybe this person did go pro from high school to college, from college to going to the NBA or the WNBA, and you understand that this person is really like the go-to person because maybe they can help out my child in doing that if that's what my child wants to do. So you want to try to get those and leverage that behind the scenes aspect of your blog, or aspect for on your blog, so that people can see not just that, hey, I provide basketball camps, but hey, this is who I am, this is why I'm doing it, and these are the people that are on my team that help make this a success. So that just gives you some ideas on some ways very specifically you can leverage your blog as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a CEO. And I wanted to close out with the differences between a blog and a website. So I toyed with starting with the differences between a blog and a website first, but I wanted to kind of give you an idea so that you can keep in mind that these are very, very different ways that you can leverage your website, but there is a blurring of the lines between the two and what exactly they do. So point one, keep in mind, it's hard to distinguish. As I mentioned before, WordPress is and was originally a blogging platform. It is not that now. It's literally everything that you want to do on the internet. But it doesn't matter if you have a Shopify site, if you have a Squarespace website, if you have a Weebly website, or if you decide to build on WordPress. Keep in mind that a lot of them have the blogging ability to be added on, or maybe just add another page. But the big thing that you want to try to keep in mind, one of the ways that I've always defined blogging is simply the publishing of online content. So that blurs the lines even more. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on that because I think that a lot of people are siloed with their understanding, their definition of exactly like what a blog is. But if you keep in mind that it is simply the creation of online or digital content, you'll understand that blogs are literally everywhere. They're on websites, they're on traditional blogs, they are on social media sites. Technically speaking, if you understand that that's just the creation of content, your social media sites are even within themselves blogs because you're creating content on them. And if you look at one of the platforms that you can use, and many of the platforms that you use, there's a lot of overlap between that integration between the blogs and that. So understand that it's really hard to distinguish between the two. So I wanted to keep you in mind about that. So if you're like, I don't really understand the difference, keep that in mind. But here's 3 things that you want to try to understand on what distinguishes a blog from a website. First, blogs usually look for engagement. Generally, pages on your website are going to be more static. They're not going to be changing often. So blogs are completely different. The idea is to really try to engage. Even if you don't necessarily engage within the blog comments, maybe you share it and you engage on a social media platform. But the idea generally is to create and have a conversation based off of what it is that you posted. And that conversation might happen online. It might not even happen online. There's a lot of consultants, there's a lot of coaches that use and leverage their blog in order to position themselves as an authority, so that when they have a conversation with somebody, it's simply a way for them to kind of build upon that piece of content that they placed out there. So, and I already kind of touched a little bit more on this, blogs have comments. You can create pages on your website that have comments, but that is not the norm. Generally speaking, blogs will only have the comment because pages on your website usually don't want people to respond or have any information that they're engaging with. It's more just telling you this is what it is. So it's kind of like your brochure, so to speak. where you're using those pages just for that standpoint. So keep that in mind. And then the biggest thing, blogs are frequently updated. So I touched on it a little bit earlier. Pages of your website are not going to be ones that change on a regular everyday basis, but your blog posts are something that are, when a blog is run well, I should say, it's updated frequently. I'll talk a little bit more about like the consistency of it. But you just want to try to keep in mind that it's updated on a regular basis. So you're not going to change the services on your website every single day, or maybe every week, or maybe even every month. You're probably just going to keep it there. Whereas on your blog, you're probably going to do that like a lot more. So again, it's really important for you to kind of understand what the blog is. I hope I was able to kind of give you an idea of exactly like what that means and what that looks like, and why the blog can be important and how you can leverage that in your business. So I want to make sure to pay attention, because we're going to have an interview next week, but we're definitely going to talk a lot more about blogging, why it's important, the future of blogging, things you should keep in mind before we go into the other topics that I'm going to be talking about from the You Are a Media Company course. So as always, this is Gresh signing out. Be sure to sign up when the course goes live at youaremedia.company. And as I spoke about before, I have lots of free resources that I will have, blog posts that are in the show notes. So be sure to check those out. And besides that, I will see you next week.